Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. I am energetic this morning because I just finished my mile walk. I was planning to jog, but it didn't happen. We're still talking about Helen Andelin, Fascinating Womanhood. Her book, still under review, and I still have something to say. So, today about integrity and character. And what does that have to do with me exercising? You'll find out. Stay tuned, and I'll be right back. I am a virtuous woman. Maybe you've heard about me in the King James Version, Proverbs 31:10. What are the 10 things, if you had to name 10 things that you notice first about a man? I know 10 is a lot, but what are you looking for? If you had to isolate those 10 things that would make you come hither or go whither. There are 10 points of character that Helen Andelin says men are looking for. So let's go through them one by one. And I'm going to ask you a few questions along the way so that you can do a little bit of self-assessment. And that is indeed the point of this show, is to make us look within for what we seem to be seeking without. Ready? I'm Miss Margaret, and we need to talk about the virtues of womanhood. What makes you virtuous? What are your virtues? What are you about? Are you a good girl or a bad girl? What character points are you looking for when you meet someone? And that's a question for men and women. I know there's the physical. We all have a type, I guess. But what are you looking for in character? What are you looking for in character? Do you look for a man who's flirtatious? Do you look for a man who's honest? Does he have patience? Is he diligent? Does he have tenacity? Is he selfish? Well, these are the points of evaluation, some of them anyway, that Helen Andelin believes a man is seeking. These are the virtues a man is seeking or trying to avoid, as the case may be. Let's see how you size up. So why am I so excited? I'm excited because I have proven to myself that I can commit to something and stick to it. About 60 pounds ago, my doctor gave me an ultimatum. Either I would lose the weight and stick to a health and wellness program, or I would prepare myself for dialysis. I did not have to think that hard about it. So I took it upon myself to commit to a routine and a schedule where I would walk every day for lunch during my work day. And the funny thing is that when I started, I used to run track in high school. Don't ask, don't talk about it. Back when 50 yards was a sprint. Anyway, I loved the sprints, but I did not love the distance. So anyway, now speed up again to the story. I was thinking I would walk a mile a day during lunch. The first day I went out, I thought about warm up, and I didn't want to warm up in front of the building. So I said, well, I'll jog to the top of the hill because my office was at the bottom of a hill. I would jog to the top of the hill, and that would be my warm up. And then by the time I got to the top of the hill, I would continue, nice and breathy, take my power walk and come back to the office. Well, what happened next is interesting because I not only walked, I didn't walk. I just kept running. And that is the day I started jogging. I started jogging around the blocks, and then, the city blocks. I do about, I think, 6 blocks or something. And then I worked my way up to a mile. It took a long time, and it was in the winter. So it was, rain, sun, sleet, hail, whatever. I committed and I did it, and I wouldn't give up. I lost the weight. I never had to go on dialysis. And this, in fact, is a great introduction to the first character trait of a virtuous woman, which is self-control. Self-control and self-mastery. So you now have the first of 10 virtues that Helen Anderlin suggests every woman should strive for. And I can't say she's wrong. We are finally agreeing, yes. Yes, I'm going to agree with her on these 10 points. So let's go through the rest of them. So you now have the first one. The first virtue is self-control and self-mastery. And if you can manage yourself, then you can manage your life successfully. But you have to manage it. What discipline are you lacking in your life that you should pursue? Do you keep commitments? Do you manage your time and money properly? Do you control your thoughts and words? Subdue your appetite. That's something I had to learn with the diabetes. Going from eating for comfort to eating for nutrition. That's a change in mindset. That's why they say a diet is actually a change in attitude and a change in lifestyle. If you go into it thinking, oh, this is a diet, it becomes very temporary, I think, in people's minds. And then you say to yourself, oh, well, I've done it, it's over. Well, that's not a lifestyle change. That's just a temporary change and an experiment and a small challenge. The real work is done when you can commit to it over time. As a result, because I know my weaknesses, which is yet another point to be made later on in this video, I know that I don't have the discipline year on year to simply be a diabetic and be a healthy diabetic. I have the discipline, though, to go to class every year, to remind myself and humble myself, to remember the parameters of my condition and not allow it to get in the way of healthy living and to not let it get in the way of healthy thinking. Because with exercise comes the clarity of mind. And once you sit too long, you sort of get set in your ways, your body gets set in its way, and you stop thinking, you stop being creative, you stop being energetic, and you really do give up on yourself in many, many ways. So I try to stay active and try to exercise as often as I can. I hope that you're doing the same. Self-mastery also includes you overcoming temptations besides food. Some of the temptations that will get you sidetracked, right? So what are we talking about here? Sometimes the temptation is an impulse to make a purchase, the impulse purchases. Sometimes you are making emotional decisions as opposed to clear-headed decisions and well thought out strategic decisions. When you have self-mastery, you can reach your goals, and you don't have to feel that you are taking on an assignment that you didn't want. You start to become yourself and your authentic self. And that's what we all want and we want to strive for. So part of self-mastery is to overcome self-doubt. It is to overcome discouragement, and it is to overcome the temptation to quit. The second character trait of a virtuous woman is unselfishness. Giving up pleasure, comfort, and advantage of material things for the betterment or to the credit or assistance of the next person. So unselfishness has to do with you making a sacrifice. If there's no sacrifice, then we're not going to call it an act of unselfishness. We're going to probably need to talk about charity, which is different. when you are talking about charity, you're giving up something that you don't want or need. That's different from making a sacrifice. So one of the virtues that Helen Anderlin suggests we pursue is unselfishness. The third is charity, which is not to be confused with sacrifice or duty. If you are being charitable, let it not be because you're under duress or you're making some sort of career move. Again, that is another area to be discerned from unselfishness and the whole idea of charity. Proverbs 31:10 talks about a virtuous woman. Are you a virtuous woman? Who can find a virtuous woman? It reads, for her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeketh wool and flax, and worketh willingly with her hands. She is like the merchant's ships. She bringeth her food from afar. She riseth also while it is night, and giveth meat to her household, and a portion to her maidens. So not only is she concerned with the welfare of her home, she's also concerned with the welfare of others. That is a virtuous woman. Charity isn't just limited to the household. The expectation in Anderlin's writing is that a woman is going to be charitable at home first. Remember how the old people always said charity begins at home? Well, it does, because your first concern is your family. And once they are taken care of, then you can extend and provide that love and care to the world and make it a better place for all of us. So the charity and unselfishness, they may be, antonyms in a way, but in truth, they're not. They're all part of a bigger formula that make the whole. The fourth virtue is humility. Freedom from pride or arrogance. Part of this is to have a correct opinion of yourself. I said earlier that one of the things I have to know about myself is that I have a tendency to veer and steer myself away from diabetic life. It is a permanent condition. Where am I going? So I have to have the self-discipline and the management of myself, the self-mastery to take control of it and not allow it to become a burden, a distraction, or something for someone else in the family to have to take care of. So I have to have the humility and realize my weaknesses. I have to realize my shortcomings and my inability to do certain things. Just as I have virtues, talents, and advantages, I also have weaknesses, mistakes, and limitations. And I think all of us, male or female, wife or husband, partner, friend, whatever, we have it. But we have to give into self-awareness and seek to correct the things about us that we know are dragging on our relationships with others. The fifth virtue is responsibility. And this presupposes that you are going to work with a commitment and be held accountable for that commitment. Think about a job. If you take a job, then not only do you need to do the work, you also need to do a good job. You need to get it done on time. And you also need to enjoy the work, but not as a condition, but as an attitude. Go into it with the right attitude that you want to enjoy it and look for ways to enjoy it. But don't make work, enjoyment, a conditionality of you doing work. What happens if you just don't like housework? Well, what happens? Whether you live alone or you live with an entire family, everyone must pull their own weight and make their own contributions, right? The sixth virtue is diligence, which speaks to tenacity and making commitments. Again, as we said a moment ago, responsibility. You cannot be lazy. You cannot be slothful. You cannot be careless. Just slopping around. I'll do it when I feel like it. Oh, not today. Maybe tomorrow. Get in the game. Get your head in the game. Get busy. Strive for the enjoyment of life and an elevated quality of life. Be diligent about it. Don't give up. You must find your level. They say water seeks its own level. To me, that means something's running down and you just keep going until you just can't go any further. I want to see in you and in myself a rising to an occasion or to an opportunity, not living down to something. Rise above it and give yourself challenges constantly. Try to strive and reach for something else that's higher, that is going to be more rewarding and pleasurable to you. The seventh virtue is patience. How you endure trials and tribulations. Are you taking it on the chin? Are you abandoning ship because it just got too tough for you out there? Or do you wait calmly, quietly, and learn from what you see happening in this process? Sometimes they say rejection is protection, and I believe that. Nothing should happen before it's time, but if you keep pressing for it, you're going to find that you have forced an issue, and now you have a new problem, which is to solve the new problem you caused and then get back to the original challenge. The eighth virtue is moral courage. Do the right thing. That's all there is to it. Do the right thing and don't be a liar. And have the moral standard and goal of betterment, of what is right, what is true, what is fair. When you have moral courage, you have a moral standard and you are unwavering. And you will defend your convictions and beliefs at all costs. Some people don't understand the drive and the motivation in a military soldier. Well, part of the culture has to do with moral courage. What you represent, what you're willing to fight for, and what you're willing to die for. Now, I don't know that you have to have moral courage to decide whether you're having chicken, beef, or fish. No. But have a standard. Have a bottom. Don't just keep following into the depths of hell and despair, saying nothing. Silence is, in fact, an answer, isn't it? If you really think about that. Finally, when you have moral courage, you will admit your wrongs. Have you been willing to admit that you've done something wrong? You don't have to cry about it and be on bended knee, but sometimes just acknowledging that you've made a mistake or had an error in judgment is enough. Forgiveness is not as far away as you may think it is. Next to last on our list of 10 virtues is honesty. My mother used to say, yes, this is Mother's Morning apparently, you can lock up from a thief, but you can't do anything with a liar. And here comes someone with the bakery. The ninth value is honesty. Honesty. Tell the truth. And you never have to remember anything. It is as simple or as difficult as that. Don't be a liar. Tell the truth at all times. But just be careful, ladies and gentlemen, that you do not tell the truth and serve it on ice all the time. There are days and there are times and there are occasions and there are situations where the truth has to be given brutally. But then if it does not have to be given brutally, soften your tone and try to present it maybe first with compliments and then get into what you think could be better. I think you'll get a much better reception from your listener. I'm going to give you a minute to think about what I have not mentioned in the list of virtues, and that will be number 10. So we're going to review quickly. The first virtue is self-control and self-mastery. The second virtue is unselfishness. The third is charity. The fourth virtue is humility. The fifth is responsibility. The sixth is diligence. Number 7 is patience. Number 8, moral courage. I don't know why I'm struggling to say moral courage. I've been practicing it a bit more than the edits will reveal. And 9th, we just left off with honesty. What did I leave out? And it's related to honesty. Chastity. How faithful are you to your mate? That's the question. I am going to leave that question for you to answer, but I will give you the consequences that Helen Andelin mentions of being unchaste. The first is spiritual corruption. The second being moral distraction. The third is how it damages relationships. And finally, the emotional illness and brokenness that comes from infidelity. I'm going to leave you to think through these 10. And as the holidays continue, by the way, I dug him out. He's so happy to come out. Do you love his beard or what? Anyway, I want you to think about these 10 virtues. Ask yourself if you're a virtuous woman. Have you demonstrated any of the traits, the character traits that I've mentioned here? I've listed them out for you. I wanted this video to be brief and to the point, although it is running into minutes longer than I wanted, but I didn't want to break this list in half, and I wanted you to have all 10 in front of you and ask yourself if you are a woman of virtue and if your virtues are in line with being a fascinating woman. Here are my parting thoughts. First of all, when you talk morality and character and moral value, virtues, be careful that you don't get so high on your horse of morality that you cannot speak directly to or credibly with others. You don't want to appear or come across as if you are somehow above the rest. You're better than the rest. Your moral high ground is in heaven almost. Think about your self-mastery, whether or not you're selfish, whether or not you exhibit charity in all of your dealings with humanity, whether or not you take responsibility. Are you diligent? Do you have patience? Your moral courage must be tough enough to withstand the temptations of life, including those that lead you to be either dishonest or somehow unchaste. If you had to score or grade yourself on a scale of 1 to 5, and 5 being the highest, what would be your average? If you have had anything presented to you in this video that makes you think about yourself, the woman in your life, the man in your life for that matter, or if you're contemplating the value of your relationship and what you're bringing to the table in terms of your character, that is. Please give me a like. If you have not subscribed, I hope that you will. We're here every Tuesday. It's an open forum for the most part. I am hopeful that one day we do a live stream for this show and get some of the listeners who are not subscribed and those subscribers who have bravely clicked the subscribe button. I'd like to get us all on a call one day and have this conversation in real time and talk about some of the items on the list that maybe should have been there, or to debate whether or not the list is complete in terms of what we need in a partner in the 21st century. I don't think that's changed at all. That's why I say I agree with her entirely. Maybe you need some other character points that just have not come to light. But I think as we continue on our path of discovering one another in a relationship, how one spends one's time in social media and with whom comes into it too. So on the last point of chastity, here's a question for you to ponder. Is it cheating if it's virtual? I'll repeat that. Is it cheating if it is virtual? Is it cheating if your partner starts or engages in a relationship that is only virtual and not physical? You'll tell me. Or you'll think about it if nothing else. So I look forward to hearing from you. Make your comments below. I'll be watching. Bye for now.